Now starting, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon. This is Ryan Levesque here, and I'm so excited to be here with you on this special Choose Your Market bonus Q&A session. If you could do me a favor before we get started, let me know that you can see my screen okay, that you can hear my audio okay, and you can see my face on my webcam okay. Just want to make sure that we've got everything working, and we're gonna kick things off. Yes, and good morning to some of you in different parts of the world. Awesome, sight and sound, thank you so much. Hear and see, appreciate it tons. Well, let's dive right in. First, hi and welcome. I want to take a moment to say thank you because this is the first time that I've ever shared the information in this course publicly. And I really, really, really appreciate all your feedback. Your input has been vital in the process. It's been invaluable in helping me craft this information and make it available to you. It's been great having you part of this first ever Choose Your Market training, the first time that I've ever taught this methodology in full like this. And there's still time for you to give your feedback. And I'll be giving you some links a little bit later on to show you where you can do that. And this feedback is incredibly useful as we craft future versions of this program. And it's important that I hear from you so I can tailor this program to your needs. And I want to let you know that I'm really, really, really not only committed to everyone on this call live, but everyone who's been part of this special first time ever Choose Your Market training. I'm really committed to your success. And I want you to remember that I always reward my early adopters, and that means you. So as we use your amazing feedback to produce future versions of this training, I want you to know that I'm always, always, always going to continue to take great care of you. So with that being said, let's dive into a quick review before we get to our live Q&A, just to remind ourselves of where we've been, starting with the three-part Choose Your Market process. Remember, got the three parts to this entire process, which is market, model, mob. Market is figuring out who you're going to serve. Model is figuring out what you're going to sell to those people, and mob is where you're going to find those people online. And in each of these phases, we have a three-part essential framework where we begin with brainstorm, starting wide, looking at all the potential possibilities for your market, your mob, your model. Then we begin by testing, step 2. Test which of the brainstorm possibilities are going to get you the results that you're after using that red light, yellow light, green light process that we've used throughout this training. Now, this process can be 2 steps forward, 1 step back, right? You might have felt this, where you move a little bit forward and then you find that, oh, that choice doesn't quite work, and then you have to take a step back. And that's normal. And I want you to know that it's better to know something is a red light or yellow light now at this step of the process, rather than find out when you are months or years into a struggling business, only to figure out that, darn, if I would have known that this was a red light market from the start, I would have saved myself a ton of time, effort, and anguish that I don't have to deal with otherwise. Step 3, of course, is choose. Choose is where you take the test results and you make an informed decision about your market, model, or mob. And you end up finishing this process by choosing one single market, model, mob combination. And that is where you want to be by the time that you have completed the process. Now, let's just do a quick recap on the program summary. And the reason why I want to go through this is because the way we deliver this course, I had Ask Live in the middle of this, and we did one session at Ask Live. We did some sessions before, some sessions after. And so I want to take a moment to just remind you where everything is and how everything is broken down. So the way the program is structured, part 1, the first session that we did together is Market Brainstorm Test 1. So in this session, I spent some time introducing the entire process, and we spent the bulk of our time focused on market test number 1. Part 2 the second session in this training, we focused on market test number 2 and choosing your market. Then in part 3, session 3, we focused on model, brainstorming, testing, and choosing your model. Part 4 is where we focused on mob, which is brainstorming, testing, and choosing the mob that you are going to focus on. And last but not least, today where we are in our bonus Q&A call, which is right now. I'm not going to go through the entire process once again, but I just wanted to take a moment to remind you where everything is. Oh, and I forgot to mention that we have that bonus Q&A session, that bonus session at Ask Live as well, baked in there. Now you have ongoing access to everything that I just showed you on this special page. You can access it at any time at askmethod.com/CYM-delivery. And what you want to do is enter the password that you received in your email. Remember, your password is case sensitive. Click to get access and you are in. On this page, you also have buttons where you are able to add your feedback. You're able to provide your feedback in each session, and we will continue to periodically look at that feedback to identify what gaps might exist, what we may have failed to teach, and what we can improve on. And I am most interested in your feedback. Again, this program, when we produce the final version of it, will retail at a price point that's considerably more than what you've invested to get access to it. So not only do you get access to it earlier, but you have the opportunity to shape the next version of this program. And I will just say that I always take great care of my early adopters, and you will not be expected to pay full retail price when the final version of this training is available. I always take great care of my Founders Circle members in any new program that I launch, and that means you. All right, before we dive into live Q&A, let's take a moment to, I've got a few shout outs that I'd like to give, because there are a few people that are making some awesome progress in the Choose Your Market journey, and had some really cool things to say. So I want to take a moment to share a few shout outs before we get into our Q&A. This is Ron, who says, you're covering everything that I was interested in. The business that I was interested in going after is all green lights, so feeling really good. And that comes from Ron. Another shout out here. I've realized that my first business doesn't have to be what I'm totally passionate about, but needs to be in the sweet spot. So true. It's a practice business and a huge opportunity for me to learn the process. Huge relief. This one comes from Carmen. So pretty excited for you, Carmen. Absolutely. The idea of a practice business is so powerful. Next piece of feedback comes, right, next shout out goes to, comes from, I believe, comes from Karen. My biggest takeaway was identifying and ordering the 5 market must-haves. Since evergreen is more important than enthusiast, we should stay away from fads. Absolutely true. The examples were so helpful. It makes me think long-term growth and stability, and that's exactly what I want for you in your business. Those are the things that were really important to me. Long-term growth and stability. And I have businesses. The earliest business that I started online using this model, the Orchid business, is still in existence today, nearly a decade later. And that's what I want for you. I want for you to be able to put the work in to launch your business and have it be something that continues to generate income for you and your family for years and years into the future. The examples are so helpful. It makes me think long-term, and this is such a valuable course. The content is amazing. I've taken other courses, but I've been hesitant to jump in, and now I know my instincts were right. These tests are so important. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to learning more. That comes from Karen. Awesome. Now I'd like to take a moment, exactly on time, 10 minutes in on this call, to answer some of your questions. And these questions are coming from the feedback we received. And what I've tried to do here is answer the questions that came in most frequently. So it's possible that you may have asked a question that's very similar to one that you see me asking here. And the reason why we've done that is to try to cover as many of the questions as possible and focus on the ones that came up most frequently as well. So the first question is as follows. First question. On Google Trends, how do I know for certain if that I actually have chosen the right keyword for a potential niche? In other words, if I'm going into dog care service, do I search for dog care service, poodle care, doggy manicures? Each of these phrases, I'm sure, would give me a different result. And this one comes from Clark. So Clark, let me answer your question like this. So the reason why we do the Google Trend exercise is to identify at what place in the niche you're thinking about going into, it makes sense for you to focus on. So we talk about the orchid care business. I realized that the keyword that we needed to focus on was orchid care. We weren't in the orchid business. We weren't in the business of selling orchids. We're specifically in the business of selling orchid care. Orchid care falls within that sweet spot. So what you're looking for is in the area that you're thinking about going into, what keyword represents the thing that's closest to your vision that fits inside the sweet spot. Let's take two of these examples. If, for example, we find that doggy care service or dog care service is outside the sweet spot, it's too big of a market, well, we might go more narrow. And maybe you go to dog manicures. If dog manicures is in the sweet spot, that means that is the focus of your business. You're not focusing on all of dog care services, you're focusing specifically on dog manicures, because that is what we've discovered falls into the sweet spot. Now, conversely, if we look at dog manicures and we find that dog manicures is too narrow, maybe that's your initial idea, it's too small, it's smaller than the sweet spot, we might niche up. And maybe we go into dog care services, and if dog care services is too big, maybe we find something in the middle like poodle care, and we focus specifically on poodle care. So this exercise to find that sweet spot is the process to help identify how narrow or how broad you should be in what it is that you're thinking about selling. And so it's a bit of an iterative process where you're going back and forth between your idea, your vision for your business, and then the keyword that justifies that your business idea is within the sweet spot until you kind of land yourself there. Another similar question that came from Andy. Andy says, the sweet spot process got me thinking about digital information product that we've already created. It's essentially a detailed training on what we have learned over the years about what it takes to create a successful home-based business. Now, one could type in home business or home-based business into Trends and come up with a figure. At the same time, one can type in work from home for women and get something different. But the education is very much the same in terms of what people need to know in order to create a successful home business for all three of these keywords. So I'm wondering where the marketing based on the keywords that people are typing in ends and where the actual product and the market begins. This is a great question. So you will find that you may be able to replicate a very similar product or very similar even business focusing on a very different keyword. I'll give you an example. So we take a look at one of my successful students who's used this process to choose a market, went into a very specific dog breed niche. He found a very specific dog breed niche and made that his focus, very specific breed. And then what he found was that the information for that particular breed is not that dissimilar to information that you might offer to another similar breed, even though the keywords are very different. So let's take two examples. Let's take two, these aren't the actual breeds, but just to bring this to life. Let's say, for example, his breed is the golden retriever niche. So he finds that the golden retriever niche is in the sweet spot, builds a product on how to groom your golden retriever, how to care for your golden retriever, how to feed your golden retriever, all these entire suite of products. And he finds that the products, when thinking about a Labrador retriever, as opposed to a golden retriever, a Labrador retriever have a lot of overlap. Like you could basically keep 90% of the information in the product the same, except make a few changes, like change the photographs, change the cover, change the stories, maybe change a little bit of information that you find within, but otherwise the information is 90% the same. Well, that's awesome, because now you have leverage. You can take the work that you've done, you can clone your website, you can clone your product, and you make changes based on the unique messaging that takes place in those markets. And we're going to talk a little bit about messaging at the end of this call. By messaging, I mean the marketing messaging around it. And that's where you're going to find that a keyword like someone searching for work from home for women represents a different type of person than someone who's searching for home-based business. And that's because the nuance of language matters. So great question, Andy. Next question from Emily. My biggest question is, what do you do if the market you love and want to go into turns out to be a yellow light or has a yellow light models? So do you just abandon it or what? Well, a yellow light is a yellow light for a reason. It doesn't necessarily mean that you abandon it, but it also doesn't mean that you can throw caution to the wind and know that you've got a slam dunk choice. It's one that you want to proceed with caution. So all things being considered, if you have a green light market and a yellow light market, the green light market is more likely to be successful. There are no guarantees in life, so I can't say it's guaranteed to be successful. It depends on you putting in the work. It depends on all sorts of things. Gosh, you know, a meteorite could hit an asteroid could hit the world tomorrow. We have no idea what the future is going to hold. So I can't predict or I can't guarantee that it'll be successful, but a green light market is much more likely to be successful than a yellow or red light market. Now, that being said, if you have a yellow light market that you are absolutely in love with, that you are so passionate about, that you're prepared to put in 14, 16, 18-hour days, you're prepared to work weekends if you need to make this market work, I would say absolutely go through with it. But know that it's probably one that's going to have a bit of an uphill battle. It's a yellow light for a reason. It's not a slam dunk. So keep that in mind and use it as a barometer to help you identify, to help answer the question when you ask yourself, is this truly something that you are super passionate about? Passionate enough about it that it is worth putting in more time and more effort in that market than another market, which would be easier for you to make money. And if you're on a mission, if it's your calling, then I'm not going to hold you back from pursuing that market. Just know that you might have the odds stacked against you. And that question comes from Emily. Next question. If I'm more market oriented, why would I go only vertical with one of my 3 markets and investigate the top 3 model types? Perhaps I misunderstood. I get that if I was model oriented, I would just check across all 3 markets with the same product or service. But it seems like I'm shortchanging myself to only investigate the top 3 model types in one market. And this, I believe, is from Alicia, but I think either my team or there's the way we capture your name in the survey is Lucia. So the question is, when it comes to deciding how you're going to narrow down the 3 market model combinations, you focus on investigating in the model phase of the process. And if you remember, there are 2 possible directions that you might go into. So one direction, you might be set on pursuing a specific market. In other words, you have you are in love with the orchid market, and that is your passion. You want to go into the orchid market no matter what. That's one possible direction. The other direction is you want to build a membership site. Like I want to build a membership site. I want to build a community online. And as far as what market I go into, I'm more flexible. So if you are in the first category, you are market oriented, that's one possibility. You could also be in the second category, which is model oriented. In other words, you might be set on doing that membership site, but you don't care if it's beekeeping, orchid care, memory improvement, you're fine. You just want to build a membership site. So if you are in the second category, you're model oriented, then you're going to want to investigate the market possibilities that you've brainstormed, so your top 3 options, and specifically look at the market model combination around membership sites. So you're going to want to look at membership site in orchid care, membership site in beekeeping, membership site in improve memory. That's clear. Now, Lucia's question is, what if you are market focused? What if you are set on going into the orchid care market? Are you shortchanging yourself by not looking at the other markets? Well, the answer is that's what determines whether or not you are market oriented or model oriented. So if you're listening to this and you're saying, well, I'm open to exploring these other markets, I'm less fixated on what market I go into and more fixated on the model, then by definition, you're model oriented. If you are not flexible about your market, you're saying, listen, by hook or by crook, I want to get into that orchid market, and I don't care if I sell an ebook, I don't care if I sell a digital course, I don't care if I sell coaching, consulting, a membership site, I don't care what I sell, I want to do something in orchids. By definition, you are market oriented, and you're going to go vertical on that spreadsheet. So no, in that case, you're not shortchanging yourself, because if you are market oriented, by definition, you want to be looking vertically. What that means is you are set on being in that market, and it's more important to you to be in that market than it is to sell the specific model or the specific product that you might be thinking about. So I hope that's clear. I hope that answers your question. Next question from David. I just want to be sure that my market choice does not need to fall within one of your 101 most profitable ideas PDF, but rather that it passes the sweet spot test that we were taught. And the answer to that is yes. It does not, your market does not need to be in the 101 profitable niche ideas. That is a tool that you can use as an idea starter. So in other words, if you're looking to brainstorm market possibilities, it can help to look at what are some other markets that fall within the sweet spot. It gives you a sense for the level of specificity that you're looking at. It also can jog your mind and give you some ideas of some directions to think about that maybe you wouldn't have thought about otherwise. So that's how you want to use that tool and that resource. So to summarize, your niche does not need to be on that list, and feel free to use that list as a tool that gives you ideas. Cool, next question. Can you please illustrate, this one comes from Laura, can you please illustrate how business leadership, topics that would appeal to a business owner leader like you, for example, would work? I'm struggling to find anything that comes close to the sweet spot as compared to orchid care. If you're struggling to find something, Laura, that falls within the sweet spot, that's a clue that that market might not be a market that's worth going into based on where you are right now. So in other words, if you're struggling to find anything that falls within the sweet spot, either way too small or way too big, if you're too small, the answer is to niche up. If you're too big, the answer is to niche down. But if you're struggling to find anything that's anywhere near that size, it generally means that it is not a great market to be in from the perspective of the right size of the market. Now, again, just to reiterate, this data comes from my 10 years of experience. This isn't something that you're going to find in a textbook online. You're not going to find that leadership is a bad market. This is based on the experience that I've had and the markets that I've gone into. I've gone into green light markets like orchid care. I've gone into what have come to be known as yellow light markets like memory improvement, and had some success, but not nearly the success that I've had in orchid care. And I've gone into some markets that are red light markets, like for example, pest control marketing. Pest control marketing is a market that without this process, you might think, well, that makes sense. They're pest control companies. They need help marketing. Be a marketing specialist focusing on pest control companies. It makes sense. There are other people who do it, but it was a red light market, and it was a market where I lost a ton of money. I lost over $50,000 in that market before I decided to give up. And what I don't want to have happen is for you to be in that situation. If you're struggling to find anything that comes close to the sweet spot, that in and of itself is a clue that those markets might be markets you want to consider avoiding. Next question comes from Heather. So Heather's question is, my biggest aha moment was market must have number 3 with big ticket item. It makes total sense to have the high ticket slack adjuster so you can turn a much better profit. What would you constitute as a big ticket item? Is there a minimum price to shoot for? And the answer is it really depends on your market. So if you are in an ROI driven market, in other words, a market where the product that you sell generates a clear ROI, typically that slack adjuster price is going to be on the higher end. And there's a huge range around this, but typically this is a multi-$1,000 product, if you think about it like that. In some markets, it might be a $5,000 product. In other markets, it could be a $50,000 or even $100,000 product. It really depends on the market that you're serving and the ROI that you generate. As a rule of thumb, in ROI markets, you can typically sell at volume, at scale, a product that generates a 10x return on investment. So if you're selling a $5,000 product and it can generate a 10x return on investment, in other words, it can make someone realistically, not like a stretch crazy scenario, but realistically can make somebody $50,000, then chances are you'll be able to sell at that price point. So as you're thinking about it, that's kind of the range that you want to be looking at. Now, if you're in a non-ROI market, a market like an orchid care, a market like a beekeeping, even a market like Improved Memory, which sort of has an indirect ROI argument, it's sort of like an indirect path to making more money, it's probably going to be on the lower end of that. It might be in the $1,000 to $5,000 range. Whereas an ROI market, it might be in the $5,000, $10,000, $25,000 range. But those are the type of price points that you want to be thinking about for a high ticket Slack adjuster. Now, there's some markets which are non-ROI markets where you can get away selling super high ticket items. Two of the markets that come to mind are tennis and golf. In the tennis market, I have a student who's gone through the same process that you're going through, who has a $10,000 weekend tennis retreat, where he brings together professional tennis players and tennis players that have money to spend, and he'll put on these weekend clinics with pros. And so if you're passionate about tennis and you've got a little bit of money to spend, and you want to spend a weekend rubbing shoulders with some famous tennis pros and learning tennis from them, he has a $10,000 experience that he sells, and he sells out of these every single time. He'll make $100,000 on a weekend from doing one of these, 10 tickets at $10,000. In the golf space, it's even more money. People will spend $25,000 to rent a house in Augusta during Masters weekends just to have a few days of watching, never mind playing, watching the best golfers in the world at Augusta. There are golf cruises where you can spend $20,000 to $50,000, where you'll cruise around the British Isles and play some of the historic famous golf courses across Britain and Ireland and even across Europe as well. So these experiences are non-ROI experiences that can cost tens of thousands of dollars. So hopefully that answers your question. It really depends on the market. There is a range. But I will tell you this, a high ticket Slack adjuster is not a $100 product. In most cases, it's not even a $500 product. We're talking $1,000 and multi-$1,000 products. Another question comes from Mia related to high ticket, big ticket backend opportunities. Mia asks, do I have to create the high ticket item myself, or can I sell someone else's high ticket product that's related to my own product? Hope to hear your advice. Well, this kind of comes into the conversation around selling other people's products as an affiliate. When you sell someone else's products as an affiliate, you get an affiliate commission. You earn a percentage of the sale of that product. Let's walk through the math on what this looks like and what it means for you selling someone else's products as a back-end opportunity. Let's say, for example, it's a $2,000 product, and this person is offering a 40% affiliate commission. Well, the great part about it is there's no fulfillment on your part, right? So in other words, you don't need to deliver the product. You don't need to create the product. You earn your commission check, and that's it. Typically speaking, they handle customer service. They handle delivery of the product. They serve the service the customer after that. So in a $2,000 product, you would get paid $800 per sale. Now, the reason this company is able to offer a 40% commission is because they are making money in some other way. So in some cases, maybe they're making money on that big ticket back-end product. So maybe they make themselves 40% as well. So maybe they make $800 in addition to your $800. Maybe they have something else that they sell that person that generates money over time. So maybe they have a $20,000 program or some monthly recurring fee that they get paid after the $2,000 has been spent. Now, the thing that you want to think about is if you were to offer a $2,000 product, instead of making $800 on that product at a 40% commission, let's say, for example, you make all the margin. Instead of making $800, you could make $1,800. $100 if your costs are, say, $200 on that $2,000 hard costs, or $2,200 on that $2,000 program. Now, so all things being equal, you're going to make more money, typically, not always, but typically selling your own product as a back-end opportunity. But here's where the affiliate conversation comes into play. Before you have your own product, the best place to start is to sell someone else's product to prove concept. So before you take the time to create your own $2,000 program, sell somebody else's program, see how it sells, and then based on the results of how successful you are, then you can decide whether or not to sell, continue selling their product, create your own product, or take a different path altogether. So I hope that answers your question, Mia. All right. Pay asks a question. When you have two complementary products under one roof and each one is only about half of the benchmark market size, will you consider running both products simultaneously as a green light? This is what we call cheating. No, I'm kidding. But this is not something that we want to do, right? So, I'm not going to take the African violet market, the succulent market, the red poppy market, the gosh, give me one more flower, the lily market, add it all up together and say, awesome, that adds up to orchid care. Now I can go into all 5 of these markets, or 4 of these markets, whatever the number is, go into all of these markets and consider it under one big roof. No, what you're doing there is you are setting yourself up to fail. You're setting yourself up to fail because what you're doing is you're pursuing more than one market at the same time and trying to make it into one homogenous business, which it isn't. This is the reason for the market must-have, the market sweet spot test. It's to find a market that fits in the sweet spot, not to find markets that are smaller than that added up together get you into the sweet spot. And just to clarify, when we talk about sweet spot, we're not talking about products, we're talking specifically about markets. And just consider that. We're talking specifically about markets. We haven't yet talked about the model when we talk about the sweet spot in terms of the size of the who we're going to reach. We're talking specifically about the market. All right. This is another question from Heather, and Heather had several questions, and I'll try to cover as many of these as possible. So Heather's question is, are direct competitors those who are selling a product in the model that you're wanting to follow? And the answer is yes. So in the memory market, as an example, or the improved memory market, just because someone's advertising on the keyword improved memory, if they're selling a supplement and you're intending on selling a course on memory improvement, the people selling a supplement, they're not a direct competitor. They're someone that you would ignore for the purposes of the model analysis or the model test phase. You're only going to focus on people who are also selling courses if that's what you're intending on selling. I know you have another question here, which is, I'd originally thought about creating a course, but when I typed in family travel plus course into Google, it's only bringing up colleges, not courses created by people. Does this mean that there aren't any for my particular topic and I need to change my keyword? The answer in that case would be yes. If there are no other competitors, if nobody else has, unless you're planning on starting a college, right? But if there are no regular people like you and me who have started a course that is successfully selling online based on the evidence that we have, in other words, that they're spending money on advertising, if they are not, if you don't find any evidence of anybody selling online, then you're gonna wanna remember that phrase that you've heard me say over and over again. Pioneers get shot, settlers get rich. You do not wanna be the person pioneering that. So yes, you wanna find a different keyword, find a different potentially market as well. When you look at your keyword plus model in Google and it has sponsored thumbnail entries at the top of the page, do those count as individual competitors? The answer is yes. Once again, provided that they are in selling the same model that you're intending on selling. So again, if you look up a keyword, improved memory, and you have a bunch of supplement companies at the top, and you're planning on selling a course, those would not be direct competitors. So same feedback that I mentioned just a moment ago. Okay, do I pay attention to the entries on the first page of Google or only look at the ads? When it comes to looking at the competitive sweet spot, so the number of competitors that you have in your market, you're specifically only looking at the paid listings, the ads, people that we know for sure are spending money on advertising. Why do we do that? If someone's spending money on advertising and they're spending money on advertising consistently, then it tells us that they are making money. Nobody will spend money on advertising for an extended period of time unless they are making money from those ads. Question number 5, for Amazon, do I just search my keyword or do I also add the model, whether it be a book or course? They bring up totally different entries, and that's a great question. Best practice is to enter your keyword and the model itself, so what it is that you're selling. So for example, if I am looking at selling a beekeeping book, I want to type in beekeeping book. If I want to sell a beekeeping kit, I'm going to type in beekeeping kit. Amazon is great because it'll tell us it's the world's largest search engine for people buying stuff online. I think the latest figures are 55% of people online, when they're looking to buy something, begin their search with Amazon. I believe those stats come from searchers in the United States. But 55% of Americans, when they go online and they're looking to buy something, they begin searching on Amazon. So Amazon has actually supplanted Google as the largest search engine for products online. This is why we do it. And yes, you want to search your keyword plus the thing that it is that you're thinking about selling, i.e. your model. Great questions from Heather. This one is actually a hot tip. This one comes from Nathan. I got to give a shout out to Nathan. Nathan has a great tip here, and I want to give credit where credit is due. Nathan says, I'd like to also mention a tip. On Google, sometimes you won't see the ads because of your Google profile, especially if you're logged in. However, if you go to google.com/NCR, no country redirect, you'll see the ads as if it's your first time searching on Google. So great tip. It's another way, instead of using an incognito browser, just go to google.com/NCR. Thank you for that tip, Nathan. And Nathan also has a question, and his question is as follows. I had a question about Facebook advertising and retargeting. You mentioned to like a few of the pages related to the product or market that you wish to enter and scroll on Facebook for 10 minutes to see if there are any advertising and retargeting. Could we use a tool like Big Bad Ads to see what types of ads are out there? The reason is because I might not fit the advertiser's target demographic and thus will not see their ads. So Facebook is at an interesting place right now, and I'll answer your direct question. Facebook's tricky, right? Because Facebook is able to take into account our Facebook profile. We have to be logged into Facebook in order to see the ads that come up, which is very different from an Amazon, where you don't need to be logged in to see the ads, or a Google, where you don't need to be logged in to see the ads. So Facebook will only show ads. You only can see Facebook content if you're logged into your account, which means that it is always, advertisers are always able to take into account your demographics before they show something. So let's say, for example, you are a man and you are thinking of selling to a menopause solution for women. Well, as a man on Facebook, you're never going to see those menopause product ads because you're just not in the demographic. So what are you to do? So Nathan brings up a tool called BigBadAds.com. Big Bad Ads is a service, it's a paid service that you can use to see what ads a page is running on Facebook. Now here's the thing. Here's what's happening with Facebook right now as we speak. So these tools like Big Bad Ads, are notorious for being blacklisted by Facebook. I've been around the block long enough to see various cycles, both with Google and with Facebook, where these third-party tools that integrate with the advertising platform will get blocked. They'll get blacklisted. And there once was a way to scrape individuals' contact information on Facebook by looking at their ID. That process is against Facebook's terms and conditions, and it largely no longer works with third parties. So it's not something that you want to do ever. But that's an example of one that gets blacklisted. So if I were to look in my crystal ball, if I were to guess, there's probably a very brief window of opportunity to use a tool like Big Bad Ads before it becomes blacklisted. So keep that in mind, and I wouldn't hinge your process around that. That being said, there's also some good, potentially very exciting news. I've heard through the grapevine, through my sources, that Facebook natively is in the process of releasing a tool, a capability, where you will be able to actually search the ads put out by pages online. This is a tool that I have heard that Facebook itself natively is going to release. Now, there are no promises. I have no control. And it's just as likely that Facebook could pull the plug on something like that. My sources tell me that this is something coming out in 2018, so keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, the safest yet imperfect way to look at what's happening on Facebook is to do the process that we talk about in the training, where you like the pages and wait to see who remarkets you. In the meantime, feel free to experiment with something like Big Bad Ads or any of the other tools that you might find available. Cool. This question comes from Christy. Regarding a one-click upsell, I don't understand the logic of having to offer another thing for sale, whether it's directly related or indirectly related. Is this statistically more successful than having them buy one product than having another reason to reach out to them in 1, 3, 5 days to say, hey, you liked that product, what about this other product? Maybe it's dependent on how you pitch the upsell. And I'll answer that like this. The hardest thing to do in business is to create enough buying momentum for someone to feel sufficiently compelled to take their wallet or their purse out, pull their credit card out, and purchase something. There is a ton of inertia that you need to overcome for that to happen. And once you've created that environment, you've created enough buying momentum that someone has they've broken through that inertia, they've taken out their credit card, and they're ready to spend money. You want to use that opportunity. You want to strike while the iron is hot. You have a brief window of opportunity to take advantage of it before that buying window closes. It's the same reason you see stores do this all the time. Restaurants do this all the time. Would you also like to add this other thing? You want to take full advantage of that. Now, you're doing this obviously to serve you and your business, but it also serves your clients. If you've motivated someone to take action, to invest in your program, to invest in your product, to invest in your course, that's taken that person a lot of courage. And what you want to do is, while they're in that state of being ready to move forward, you want to give them every opportunity that you have to go all in. And when you do that, it doesn't matter how many things you put in front of someone, there is a segment of your market that's going to say yes to everything. They're going to say, yes, add that. Yes, add that. Yes, add that. I might as well do everything, because they are ready to commit fully to make the transformation in their life that your product or service provides and go all in. I want to answer this question in another way as well, and that's this. There are some markets where, in order to compete in the first place, you will be dependent upon using a one-click upsell process. In other words, you cannot compete unless you do that thing. So there are multiple reasons to do it. There are very few reasons not to do it. One of the reasons is you will have a little small negative blowback from your customers where they're going to say, wait, you keep putting stuff in front of me, enough, I don't want any more. But you got to remind yourself that you are in business to make a profit. And if you cannot make a profit, you cannot serve any of your customers. And the highest form of service is to sell. The highest form of service is to encourage and motivate someone to take that next step in working with you, knowing if you believe in what it is that you sell. So hopefully, Christy, that answers your question. And Heather asks, I'd love to know some recommendations or suggestions for the next steps. What's the best roadmap to follow to actually bring your idea to fruition? So in the last 15 minutes that we have together, that's what I want to take an opportunity to do right now. I want to take a moment to talk to you about what your next steps are. So far, we have covered the 3 steps in these concentric circles. We've identified what your market is, who you sell to. We've identified what your model is, what you're going to sell. And now we've identified your mob, the group of people, and where you're going to find these people online. So you now know who, you now know what, and you now know where. but there's one final circle that everything else hinges on, and it's right in the center of this framework. And that is your message. In other words, what are you going to say to get the people in your market to buy your model in the mob that you found online? And the answer to nailing down your message is to ask. Now, the ask method is at the cornerstone of everything that I teach. The ask method is the process that I've used after choosing the 23 markets that I decided to go into to have success in each of those markets. The ask method is revolutionizing the way we think about building businesses and serving our customers by understanding our market on a deep emotional level. And how, by using the ask method, it's possible to know exactly what people want to buy. And that's the key thing, before they even know what they want to buy themselves. And then give it to them based on their specific situation. And we do this by putting people into buckets. So when we talk about next steps, after you choose, you then need to ask. When we look at the ask method is broken down into 3 major phases. The first is discover. In the discover phase, you get tremendous insight about your market from something that we call the deep dive survey. And this is the next step after you've completed the choose process, where we begin with ask. We begin with the deep dive survey. Now, in the discover step, this is where you learn how to come up with the right questions to ask people in your market. And we're going to go to that mob that you've identified to ask questions to identify what it is that people really want to buy and how to communicate what it is that you are going to sell to that market, i.e., your message. You're going to learn what questions you never should ask. You're going to learn how to get responses to your survey, no matter the size of your list, or in most of our cases here, even if you have no list at all. You're going to discover how to get people excited to take your survey, identify which results people to pay special attention to, the hidden demographics of your market that you can't pick up on from looking at the forums and communities and groups online, and much, much more. By the end of this phase, the discover phase, you know exactly what your market is thinking and feeling. In fact, you can create this experience where people say, oh my gosh, it's like you know what's going on in my mind better than even I know what's going on in my mind myself. You can articulate the problems I'm experiencing better than even I can articulate those problems. In fact, you'll have the exact language that your market uses to describe their problems. You'll be able to use this language in your sales copy to speak people's exact language. And when people feel understood, that's when they buy from you again and again and again. Now, the next phase of the process is segment. So just like in the choose process, we have market, model, mob. In the ask method process, we have similarly 3 phases: discover, segment, launch. This is where things pick up. In the segment phase, this is where you use the results of your deep dive survey to identify what we call the buckets that exist in your market. And we start creating or tweaking the marketing to best serve and speak to each of those buckets. You'll identify what buckets or segments in your market are most hungry for a solution and how to create that exact solution and deliver what your customers want. We use the deep dive survey results to create an optimal customer experience. Your customers and prospects feel like your website has been tailored just for them. Even if you're using what we call perceived customization, where you simply customize 3 small key parts of your sales process based on what someone's bucket is. The last phase of the ask method process is launch. And this is where we cover traffic, optimization, and scale. This is where we cover how to launch your business to the world. So in the choose step, we've identified your market, we've identified what you're going to sell, and we've identified where to find people online. In the ask method process, we go through a market research process where we discover what it is that people truly want and the language that they use to describe their problems. In segment, we build out your marketing funnel so that you can sell what it is that you're going to sell. And launch is where we launch that business, that funnel, to the world. And we have ask method graduates who have built anything from segmentation funnels that generate a few dozen leads per day to, in some cases, tens of thousands of email subscribers every single month. So in this process, we'll talk and explore the psychological triggers of curiosity and self-discovery. We'll walk through how to use these triggers to drive massive amounts of traffic to your website, and not just any traffic, but traffic that's designed to convert into customers. Using something called the 411 model, you'll be able to identify the best source of traffic for your business. Just like we identified whether you should be using Facebook to identify your market, or LinkedIn to identify, your mom, or LinkedIn to identify your mom, or Google to identify your mom. In this process, we'll identify what traffic source is best for your particular business based on the market, model, mom combination that you've used in the choose step. In other words, this is a complete step-by-step system for understanding and reaching your market, and it's the ideal next step to take after you've chosen your market. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to invite you, this is a very special invitation, to join me inside the Ask Method Masterclass. Now, the Ask Method Masterclass is something that we've typically only opened once or twice a year. And right now, the Masterclass is closed. But we wanted to offer a very special bonus for everybody here in this program who decided to enroll in this Choose Your Market program. And by the way, if you are already a student of the Ask Method Masterclass and you're listening to this right now, I want you to stay with me because the bonus that I'm about to share with you is something that you will automatically get access to as well. So before I dive into what that super special bonus is, I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about how the Ask Method Masterclass is structured and what it is that you get. So the Ask Method Masterclass is broken down into 9 core training lessons. This is how to implement the Ask Method step by step, and we cover each of these sessions together one at a time. The Ask Method Masterclass also includes 3 advanced bonus lessons. These bonus lessons are lessons that cover some of the advanced concepts that go beyond the core training of the Masterclass. You also get access to 5 of my best of the best Q&A call recordings with me. These Q&A call recordings, like the one that we just covered answering your questions, is where I actually answer and do live funnel reviews. So I'm actually looking at businesses, your businesses, students' businesses from the Masterclass, and I'm doing live critiques on these calls. The value of these calls alone is worth over $5,000. You also get access to the step-by-step workbook and templates that walk you through the entire process. Let me go back here. The entire process. And you also, the templates will show you exactly what you need to do next in your business. So if you're the type of person that loves to follow along with step-by-step templates, checklists, and knowing exactly what to do from A to Z, you're gonna love how this is all laid out. And you also get access to a free ticket to Ask Live 2018. So for those who enrolled in the Masterclass in 2017 and got a ticket to Ask Live 2017, anyone who enrolls in the Ask Method Masterclass beginning now will get a ticket to Ask Live 2018, and that is a $499 value. Now, in addition to everything that I just mentioned, you also get access to free 12 months to my Ask Method community. So I know many of you have said, man, it would be amazing if there was a Facebook group or community online where I can continue to ask additional questions. Well, you get access to a full 12 months of that community. And in that community, not only am I part of that community, there are over 1,500 students of the active students inside the Ask Method Masterclass right now as we speak. You have full access to my team of course advisors who are there to answer your specific questions. So instead of having to wait for a Q&A call, you get access to my team of course advisors who will help you and hold your hand every step of the way. You also get, as a special bonus, 3 months access to Bucket.io. This is the software that you use to run your surveys and to build your quiz or segmentation funnel that's going to serve as the backbone of your business over time. 3 months access is a $600 value. And the folks at Bucket were generous enough to give you a free account. Technically, it's a $1 3-month trial, a free account for 3 months so you can get your business off the ground, get it going before you need to begin paying for that service. So it's a tremendous value, and it's a tremendous way to get your business off the ground. In addition to all of that, you also get access to examples. So if you're the type of person that loves to learn by seeing other examples, you're gonna get access to my $10,000 real-time swipe vault. This is 10 years of split tests, best performing funnels, examples, business after business in market after market. You're gonna learn by following these case studies and examples that are included inside the course itself. Now, there are two options when it comes to enrolling into the masterclass. The first is one payment of $19.99, which is the best value, or the most flexible option, which is 6 payments of $374. And that gives you the flexibility of a payment plan spread over 6 months. Now, there's a special bonus for everyone here in this Choose Your Market course, which I mentioned to you. Because Choose and Ask fit together like peanut butter and jelly, you can think about Choose as the step before you ask. I wanted to make it a complete no-brainer and give you a super special opportunity to move forward right here, right now, while you've got great momentum in your business based on all the amazing progress you're making on the Choose step. And that is as follows. Everyone gets access to this, whether you buy and enroll in the Ask Method Masterclass today, or if you've already enrolled in the Ask Method Masterclass and you've completed the Choose Your Market training. And that's this. I'm gonna do a special small group session just for you on how to use your deep dive survey to confidently know that you've chosen the right market. This is a $1,200 value. This is a special session that I'm gonna do just for you and you only, where we're gonna walk through how to use your deep dive survey, which is the first step that we focus on together inside the masterclass, to validate the market that you've selected based on the Choose Your Market process. This is a special session that's not included inside the main Ask Method training. It is only available to you. And it's only available when you move forward now. Meaning if you're thinking, well, I'll wait to 2018 to enroll, I'll wait to maybe sometime in the future, this special bonus will not be available. This is something super special that I'm doing just for you. I'm setting aside private time where I'm gonna make myself available to you for those of us here on this call only. And again, for those of you who have already enrolled in the Ask Method Masterclass, who have enrolled in Choose, you'll get access to this special training call as well. Now, a few things that I want to mention, and that is, there's one small catch. The catch, as I may have mentioned already, is the fact that the masterclass right now is closed. If you go to askmethod.com and try to enroll in the masterclass, it is not open. Again, we only open up the masterclass once or twice a year historically, meaning most times when people miss it, they have to wait 6 months up to a year to enroll. But I didn't want to put you through that pain of having to wait to get access to everything. So what we decided to do is we are opening a small window of opportunity for Choose Your Market students only, and that means you, where you can get access to the masterclass for just the next few days. Specifically, the masterclass is opening up for the next 4 days only. Right now, as I record this, today is Thursday, December 7th. You have today through Sunday to enroll. Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Pacific time, December 10th. That is the deadline. The next time to enroll after that, I have no idea when it'll be, but as I've mentioned in the past, we've only opened up the course once or twice a year. It could be 6 to 12 months before you have the opportunity to get in. So the special opportunity for you when you enroll right here, right now, is by going to this specific link, askmethod.com/choose-ask. And I'm gonna ask someone on this call to kindly click on that link and let me know that it's working. And Chris, if you could be so kind as pasting the link in the GoToWebinar chat so we can make sure that it is clickable. And I'm just gonna make sure that you can see me okay. All right, cool. Awesome. Linda says, please tell them to jump on this offer. They will not regret it. I just had my first call with my coach and felt more focused, motivated, inspired than I have all year. Gregory asks, can I purchase tomorrow? Yes, tomorrow is within that window. askmethod.com/choose-ask. And Chris, maybe you could tell me. Awesome. Licia, thank you so much. Janet, thank you so much for letting me know that the link is working. I have no ability to click because my monitor is full screen right now. So askmethod.com/choose-ask. Now, the ask method is the right next step. It's the next step in the process. So after you've chosen your market, this is the logical next step for you to double or even triple your business, or in the case of most of us here, to launch your new business this year. And you can see there are market leaders in every corner of the internet using the ask method to generate some tremendous results, as well as regular people like you and me that you can see here. Now, when you go to this link, you'll be able to hear the stories of these people. You'll be able to watch their videos. You'll be able to hear their stories and how the ask method transformed their lives. People who were in the same place of their business as you are right now, looking to choose your market, figuring out what model to go into, what mob to reach, starting literally from ground zero. You can see what these other students have had to say by going to askmethod.com/choose-ask. Now, I also want to mention another thing, and that's this. When you enroll today, you are completely protected by our 100% money back guarantee. And here's how that works. Simply watch the videos and complete the coursework from just the first module of the course. You know me by now. We spend enough time together. You know the quality, the depth of thinking, the work that goes into anything that we put together. And so all that we ask is that you implement at least the first module of the course. And if you do that assigned work from just that first module and you still decide that the course isn't right for you, all you need to do is just send us an email, send back the materials to us. And once we receive your completed coursework and course materials, you'll get a swift and complete refund. This is a 30-day, 100% money back guarantee, which means you have absolutely nothing to lose. Now, I do want to mention that this, once again, can be found at askmethod.com/choose-ask. This is a special non-public link. Please do not share this link with anybody outside this course. This is the only way that someone can get into the masterclass. I'm just going to ask you, pretty please, keep this to yourself. Do not share this with anybody else because we are letting you squeak in at a very special time, and I want to make sure that this is only you who is getting in. All right, so here's what you need to do. If you'd like to take advantage of this opportunity, remember, the deadline to do so is this Sunday at 11:59 Pacific. Go here to get your place. askmethod.com/choose-ask. When you do so, you're going to get access to that special bonus that I mentioned, the special call, the training session, where we're going to cover how to use your Ask Method Deep Dive Survey to validate the market that you've chosen here in the choose step. This is a special training. It's the only time that you'll get access to this. I want to take a moment now to answer any questions that you may have, as we are only open for the next few days. Once again, friendly reminder, and we'll cover some questions. So I'm going to go to the chat. If you have a question on anything that we've talked about here regarding getting access to the Ask Method Masterclass or anything that we've covered so far, I want to take a moment to answer those questions now before we wrap. We're a little bit over time, and I will move on. Good. Awesome. Link works. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Great. Good. Awesome. Jason says, great. I took advantage of the choose offer and waited to do choose to complete, and I'm excited to jump into ask. That is awesome. Great. Great. Awesome. Okay, great. Okay. Yes. Matt asked a good question about choosing a cyclical market. I'm going to paraphrase your question, Matt. in the interest of time. So Matt asks, can you test a cyclical market when you're in the down period of the cycle? And the answer to that is, cyclical markets are, for all the reasons that we've talked about, semi-problematic. So if there's one thing that's a downside to a market like the orchid market, it's the fact that during the winter months, the volume in that decreases significantly. And as I mentioned, I believe it was to you at Ask Live, when you combine two cyclical markets that are complementary to one another, so a market like home brewing, which peaks in the winter months, orchid care, which peaks in the summer months, you can balance these businesses out. Sort of like the landscaping company that does winter snow removal in the colder months when nobody, when they're not mowing lawns. So when it comes to actually looking at the markets themselves, let's see if I can do something a little different here so I'm losing my responses. So when it comes to looking at the differences in the market in the downtime, yes, the short answer is yes. Your funnel, in reality, your funnel will perform a little bit worse, even relative to the smaller volume, because the small volume is an indication that demand isn't there, and even people that are searching, typically your conversion rates are going to be a little bit lower. So for example, our conversion rates are in the orchid business are 1.5 times what they are, say like after Mother's Day in the month of May and even into June, are 1.5 times more what they are in the months of like October and November, where nobody's really thinking about their orchids. So you got to bear that in mind when you're looking at and doing your market research in a cyclical market. Great. Second question, when doing competitive evaluation and counting the amount of competitors, Chris, is there any way that these will not slide down? Every time I look at one of these questions, I keep losing it. When the competitive, let's see, okay. You guys are asking such great questions, but every time you ask a question, I lose what I'm reading in the one that I'm reading right now. All right, when doing the competitive evaluation and counting the amount of competitors for advertising in our market, do secondary advertisers count? So for example, Google Beekeeping ebook and find ads from about.com and Amazon for ebook. Do those count as competitors, or do we count the ones that are advertising for themselves? You should take those into account, because if you're selling an ebook and you can buy an ebook on Amazon, that is someone who is competing against you. They're selling the same thing, and all things being equal, if someone says, do I buy the ebook on Amazon? Do I buy the ebook from you? That is a direct competitor. Good. All right, looking at some of these other questions. Go. Yes, if you, as I mentioned, if this wasn't clear already, you are getting the special bonus call if you enroll in the Ask Method Masterclass right now today. You also get access to the special bonus call if you have already enrolled in the Ask Method Masterclass. So if you enrolled in the Ask Method Masterclass and you enrolled in Choose, or of course, if you're part of my coaching and mentorship program, you get access to everything. But if you're in that situation, you will get access to the special bonus call that is not available to anybody else. So you are covered, yes. How large of an email list do I gain value from the deep dive survey, asks Jim. Well, this is where the mob comes into play. So the mob that you've identified, or the mobs that you've identified, that is where we're going to be gathering our deep dive survey results. So if you have an email list, you can certainly use your email list to gather the deep dive survey results. If not, we're going to be doing something called a lean deep dive survey. A lean deep dive survey is something that you'll see me teach inside the Ask Method Masterclass, where you're going to reach out to members of a community online in a very specific way to gather your market research and do your deep dive survey through them. And we're going to be using the mobs that you've already identified. So that's why I said you've identified your mobs. Now all we got to do is figure out your message. We just got to figure out what it is that we're going to sell and how we're going to communicate to your markets. You've done all the steps. You've knocked over all the dominoes, and now you're ready to ask. Jim asked a question, do I need a funnel to accomplish the deep dive survey? And the answer to that is no. Awesome. Good. Awesome. And Chris, those are questions. Chris asks, Please give examples of DDS questions for right audience, wrong offer. And that is exactly something that we're going to cover in that bonus call to validate your market using your deep dive survey. Good. And I think that covers all the questions that are submitted. Good. And we're a little bit over time, and I want to be respectful of your time, and I will wrap by saying this. The next step in the process, Choose was designed very specifically to fit hand in glove, peanut butter and jelly with the Ask Method process. Everything we've done up until this point is to prepare you to ask. And if you're looking forward to taking that next step in your business to figure out what it is that your customers want and how to give it to them, the next step is to ask. So we've opened up this very brief 96-hour window, which will be closing on Sunday, December 10th, I believe it is, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, at 11:59 Pacific Standard Time. The way to get access to the masterclass today is by going to askmethod.com/choose-ask. For everybody already inside, I'm looking forward to you joining me on our special bonus Q&A call. And for everybody who is joining right here, right now today, I'm looking forward to having you part of my community. Once you're in, you're officially in. So that being said, that concludes our time together in this Choose Your Market training. I want to say thank you so much for all your hard work. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your stories and how you use this information to choose your market. And for everybody who is part of the Ask Method community and the Ask Method Masterclass, I will see you soon online. Take care, talk soon, and have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.